So Tommy, we haven't really talked about a little bit. You know that one of the bullets we want to talk about is your faith. Okay,
Hmm.
so let's blend in the faith to your playing career at Michigan State because you did play a little bit of pro ball, and so you're obviously a very talented guy. You had to have faith in yourself, but you came to a Big Ten university. Competitions was rough, man, and you played behind some. Well, tell the story, man. Talk about your faith and what led you to keep you at Michigan State. Please go right ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. And if I remember correctly from the pre-show, this will kind of bleed into our next segment as well. So I'll try not to get too ahead of myself. Um, Ultimately, faith has been just such a big part of my journey in general. Sometimes active and sometimes not at the top of my mind. But when I finished playing professionally, there was an opportunity actually for me to continue my career. They had asked me, one of the coaches we played against over in France said, "Hey, I'm heading to Australia and I want to start or I'm going to coach a team this year. I want you to be my quarterback. You can come with me, all expenses paid, we'll pay you, same deal as here." And a little voice in my head said, "I have to get my life started." And now I want to emphasize that because anybody who's listening, especially most of your folks in the retirement zone, they know that my life at that point has been going on for almost 25 years. What do you mean get it started? But in truth, it was, I think, a fear of mine that I had to take care of myself, frankly. And that's one of the things that is kind of a theme that we'll talk about today. Um, I I quit playing football because I thought that I was just messing around. I'm doing air quotes for you listeners at home, and needed to start contributing to the world in a different way. And what I didn't realize at the time was frankly how much God loves us and how he wanted to pay for me to go visit Australia, which is still one of my bucket list items. He wanted to pay me to continue playing football, which is a game that I love, and meet new people and make new connections. And so in these last handful of years, I'll say after my little season of being burnt out, my faith has been just a huge piece of understanding not just who he wants us to be here, but how he wants us to go about it. And that absolutely started in my journey at Michigan State, where I'm very appreciative to Coach D that without being religious forward, he he very much put faith at the forefront of the program.
So finish that thread and then weave that into your lessons from MSU because so many people listen to our show, have students, have future students, grandparents, parents. I mean, was the time at MSU worth it? Did it fulfill your faith in the thing that you were looking for?
Yeah, unquestionably. In fact, I chuckle. This is a lesser known story, kind of only a handful of folks and in my family. But after the 2012 season, uh, every offseason we'd have a one-on-one meeting with Coach D'Antonio, and he mentioned that, it was becoming clear that Connor was going to be the quarterback of the future, and that would mean that I probably wouldn't see much playing time. At other positions, several folks play. At QB, there's really only one. And so he offered to help me transfer and get to a place where I could play. And I remember at the time almost being offended, right? There was some element of I can't hack it, and I know now that that wasn't his intention at all, but to try and help me be the best version of myself. But had to have a couple hard conversations and realize that perhaps the best version of me was a, a supporting cast member, someone who helps others be the best version of themselves rather than me having to be the one in the spotlight. And so I think back on that often because after saying, no, I'm going to stick around over the next 3 seasons, we won a Rose Bowl, we won a Cotton Bowl, we won another Big Ten championship and went to the college football playoff. So I think one of the lessons that I took away as far as, did Michigan State fulfill me is you don't always have to be the one in the spotlight to be able to contribute. And I'm reminded of the story where I can't remember which president, he's walking through NASA and he's talking to the janitor and he says, "What do you do here?" And the guy says, "Well, I'm helping send someone to the moon." And it's that sort of recognition that truly a team is built from the top down. Nobody doesn't contribute. And it's really easy to label ourselves as valuable or not valuable. And I think that was part of my windup. But at the end of the day, recognizing that there's a lot of different ways to contribute has been a big lesson that I've kind of carried forward into this coaching practice.
Well, you never, ever, I never saw you down. How did you do that?
A great question. I mean, I do have to thank the Lord a little bit. I think that optimism is just sort of a natural gift that He's given me. But I think even more than that, everybody who goes to play college football was one of, if not the best players on their high school team.
Right.
And it just continues to funnel off as you get higher up in the levels. And I don't think I want to use the word be realistic as much as I want to say that when the team wins, we all win. And so there was a recognition, and that was after that conversation with Coach D for me, that if I wasn't going to contribute on the field, then I needed to dig deep and see just how I could contribute. And so that I've carried that lesson forward in life. Like you said, I've been in a couple different careers, a couple different industries, and learning to find how I can contribute outside of the ways that I might have initially envisioned myself contributing has been just a big part of being where I'm at now and helping others to fulfill their dreams.
How do you want people to get a hold of you, find you, help you with it? Could be virtual coaching, could be in-person coaching, could be speaking. How would you want people to get a hold of you?
Yeah, either way, my email is Tommy at coachinggoodsoil.com, or my business number is 720-295-0299. I like to say that I help people get out of their own way. So if you know that there's an extra gear available to you, you know that there's another height that you want to reach, and we just can't quite put our finger on why we're not getting there, that's my specialty. I do faith-based but neuroscience-backed coaching. We don't have to talk about, any one walk of faith, but just an understanding of what you're here to offer, that there's a reason you're here at this time and you've got a purpose. I'm happy to help you find it.
That piece in your mind and your brain is what can control a lot. Let's talk about that neuro part of the mental fitness, because explain what that is, why people will react to things. What is the function of the amygdala?
Yeah, absolutely. So the amygdala, it's funny. They've done a handful of studies that basically show that part of our brain responds the same if there's a bear in front of us as it does when there's a social threat. They've done MRIs, they've done CAT scans, and essentially the same emotions, the same response is triggered in us. So, a lot of people, I think it's excellent that a topic of uh, widespread today is mental health. I prefer the term mental fitness, only because fitness to me implies there are multiple elements to it. And mental health is not just about, protecting your space and cutting off people in your life. Mental fitness is about the ability to respond and understanding what stresses you out and triggers you, understanding how to sidestep some of those, as you call it, our lizard brain, our caveman brain responses, and more than that, to learn and develop the ability to thrive on pressure. That skill does not exist only to a select few who are born with it. There's an excellent interview with Novak Djokovic on 60 Minutes where he talks about mental fitness, and the interviewer says, "Boy, that's such a gift you have," and he's like, "No, I want to correct you. It is not a gift. It's something that I actively work on every day." And this is a tennis player at the highest level, the winningest in terms of Grand Slam championships of all time. And even he talks about having to have a big part of his mental fitness diet be working on these things even at that level. So I don't think anybody should dish it aside as something that's less important. It's equal parts to your health, just as diet and exercise. Hmm.
Explain to everybody what is the difference between stress and eustress, because it's a huge difference.
Yeah, well, as I understand it, stress is from the outside and eustress is from the inside. And we have these internal stressors, and I'll say probably the biggest one is our internal critic, our own judgment of ourself. While, as you mentioned, athletes make it look easy on Sunday because of all the work that they put in. I like to, football is such an excellent analogy for life because at the college level, you have 12 games and you practice or work out 350 days a year for 12 games. And it shouldn't be overstated how important practice is to make something look effortless. And in that same vein, being able to practice being under duress and having stress and eustress both play a function in your life, being able to build resilience to that. We like to say in the weight room that the weight doesn't get lighter, you get stronger. And frankly, the same is true for stress. The more you become resilient to it, the more you learn to let it slide off your back rather than weigh you down and give you gray hairs.
Question to you there, young man. You're talking about filling the cup. And I had, me immediately made me think of that speaking engagement I did with those nurses.
Hmm.
Who fills your bucket? So who fills your bucket? How do you fill your bucket? Okay, so you got your how to who. So how do you fill your bucket? You've talked about that a little bit. And then
Hmm.
who fills your bucket? So two-part question.
Yeah, totally. I would be remiss not to say first and foremost, it's the Lord. I mean, I think most people grow up hearing that in some form or fashion, and I was one of them. And it frustrated me, frankly, because so many people describe having experiences, and I've never had an experience like that where I saw something or there was a flash or this great revelation. But I'll say I spent the first part of my life hearing about God, and I've spent this latter half learning him for myself, knowing who he is. And it really is, it's the river of living water, and it fills me up every time I go to that well. And then I'll give another shout out to my mom. She has ministered to me in that area. She is the definition of peace and unconditional love, and she got it all from him and has passed it on to me. And it is such a blessing to have someone in your corner who can help develop those faith muscles in you. And no matter how I'm feeling, in fact, I was on the phone with her just this morning working through some stuff, and being able to be pointed back to the source is a game changer. It's like a secret weapon. If anyone has seen Space Jam, when Bugs Bunny and all the guys drink MJ's secret juice, that's what the Lord has been for me. And so I invite you to know him for yourself.
Comment on that. I mean, because you're outside the circle, that's where the coaching is
Hmm.
very, very beneficial.
Yeah, I mean, the word coaching really derives from having a second set of eyes watch what you do and being able to have another opinion, to correct your form at the very least. But metacognition is a big piece of our coaching, which is thinking about the way you think. And until you have someone point out to you that this is the narrative in your mind, you don't recognize it's a narrative. You think everything you think is true. And so having someone, one of the principles that Coach D built the program on was iron sharpens iron. And I love that analogy because that's how one man sharpens another. We're not meant to be here. Life is not an individual sport. It is very much a team sport. And so having a coach, some of the most successful people that I know, they have three, sometimes five coaches in their life for the different aspects. They have personal fitness coaching, they have leadership coaching, they have speaking engagement coaches, they have sales coaches. I mean, anybody who has really reached heights in life know that you need to have someone else who's helping you get to that place. There's a reason that all the professional athletes in the world, and I'll use golf as an example, Tiger Woods was the best in the world. And he would finish winning the Masters, and Monday morning he'd be meeting with his swing coach saying, how can I get better? I mean, there's only one way to really be the best you, and it's not alone. So whether it's me or someone else, get someone in your corner.
Forward, you're coming in as the high school player of the year, Michigan. You're coming in, and you're not playing. Oh my God, I'm sitting behind Kirk Cousins. Oh my
Mhm.
God, I know what am I going to do here? NIL comes along. What
Yeah.
happens?
It's a great question, and I'll say while I can only speak somewhat in theory about it because it's always easier for us who are outside the situation to say what someone else should do. I think that's something that perhaps is missing, and I won't blame this generation. I won't say it's the kids' fault. I think that the, you alluded to it earlier, our desire to find the secret formula, the secret sauce, the magic bullet, so often that leads us to look for immediate gratification.
Yep.
And something that is lost in that, one of my favorite quotes is the olive tree, which is the king of all trees, takes 100 years to become fully mature, where an onion plant is fully ripe in 9 weeks. I don't think that becoming fully ripe in 9 weeks is the fruit that leads to a life that you actually desire and that you could tell other people and be proud of, even if there was no audience. And so, in the age of NIL, I'm frankly thrilled that players are getting to share in the abundance that they help create for universities and for college football. They're getting to share in some of the booster money or the TV deals or the merchandise sales. I love that they're able to plug in and learn how to be an entrepreneur for themselves well before they leave college. And yet, I think part of what has put money on a pedestal is it's cheapening the ability to build character and really become a person. When those 5 years are up in your college football, for some people, four, you're going to have another 60 plus years of life. And if you can understand that sharpening the axe of who you are during those years is often more important than just what you gain during those 4 years, you will be much better suited to have success in the long term rather than gratification in the short term.
Give me a quick takeaway, Tommy. We're coming to the end of the show here, and I need a takeaway. And I got so many other things to say, but I got to get you in for a takeaway. So please go right ahead.
Yeah, I'll encourage everyone to do what I like to call a character sketch. Draw out on a piece of paper a couple of things right now about how you see yourself. And then on the other side of the paper, write out how you want to see yourself. And again, less important than how do I get there, start internalizing what you think it feels like to be the person on the right side of that column. And as you start to see yourself as that now, not necessarily sometime in the future, it will become very evident to you that all the mental stuff that you have come up, all the obstacles that present themselves, all the thoughts you have opposed to it, the way to become that person on the right side is to deal with those obstacles, not to find some magic bullet of how to get there. So I'd encourage you to have a clear vision of who you want to be, and then it will be clear how you can get there after the fact.
That was unbelievable. Love the guy, Tommy Vento, from QB to coach, from how to who. That's so great. How to who. How do we get to become the next who we want to become? We're always looking to try to be who. I might even do my own video tomorrow on this, on one of my dad talks, because this is so vitally important for everybody to understand. Be happy for other people's success. Help other people get better. Reach out to Tommy Vento. The guy is just amazing. He's going to go and do amazing things. I love working with young people like this. It's so much fun. It's so rewarding. And it's not about always about the money. It's about the feeling. Until next time, everybody, it's been a blast. We'll talk to you soon. I'm Papa Tom. This has been the Tom Matt Show. Thank you so much for subscribing, doing all those good things. And please do subscribe and please use our sponsors because Brock Fletcher is the best. Okay. Until next time. Peace out. Love y'all. We're out.